How we doing?
Questions for Coach?
When you guys approached before the season started about playing this game on a Friday night, Black Friday weekend, did you guys get any heads up on that was coming?
Yeah. So the conference obviously is trying to create some different days for games to get more coverage for our conference. So they approached us about playing Friday night. But there's a rule in the conference that you don't have to play night games unless everybody agrees to it. So this was part of the conditions in playing it.
James, you shared that the game planning is collaborative, but day of, you haven't shared who's calling the plays actually?
Correct. No. Yeah, no. I don't think it's necessary or needed, in my opinion. Both of those guys are doing a great job. The whole staff is involved. They're co-coordinators, so they're both sharing that responsibility. And to get into the details of how it's actually happening on game day, I don't feel like that is necessary, in my opinion. I mean, obviously you guys have different opinions, but I think that's the right way to handle it as of right now.
You guys have had 2 practices since we last talked. How is Drew? Do you still anticipate that he'll be able to play Friday?
Good. We didn't throw him today while you guys were out there just so you guys could blow up Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, I know it is. Yeah, I know it is. But yeah, we just did that just to mess with you guys. No, that's not the case. But no, we're still confident that he'll be ready to go Saturday.
You've established that you can hire an offensive coordinator that can get the kind of performances that you want out of your offense against most everybody on your schedule. When you're in a hiring process that's about 2 to 4 games a year, what are those bullet points that are maybe different than before?
Yeah, good question. So, I think it's really still the same factors, right? It's who's going to be great on third down, who's got the data to back up explosive plays and explosive offense, because in college football nowadays, to just be able to go 4 yards is hard to do a play all the way down the field. Opening drives. But a big one is, data and information based on the people that have been able to score against their best competition. The best competition in whatever leagues they've come from. I think that's an important piece of this as well. Obviously, we got even more competition coming into the league as well. So those things factor into it. But I think your point is a good one. Overall, our numbers are pretty good, but we got to make sure that we put ourselves in the best position based on the teams that we need to beat, and to be able to do that and have the data to back it up and the evidence to back it up and the experience to back it up. So that's really the biggest difference. And then hopefully, someone that's done it long enough that you have a true indication, because where you have to be careful is somebody could have a special quarterback or somebody could have a generational wide receiver and it skews all the stats. That's what makes it hard, right? So that's where the bigger sample size, the bigger body of work allows you to eliminate some of that risk and feel more confident in the decision. And then also, somebody that's going to come and be able to use the personnel based on how it's already been built, if that makes sense. So the interesting thing, I think the perception out there, whether it's a offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, position coach, or a head coach, there's less options out there than I think people think. When you really dig into it, there's a small sample size. When I hired Manny, there's like 3 or 4 guys out there that have that track record, and there's probably 8 schools that are trying to get them. So it's not as obvious as people may think. Even, to be honest with you, even if you look at hiring a guy with NFL experience, that sounds good, but there's not a whole lot of evidence of that model working on the college level as well. So It's a smaller pool than you would actually think, and there's probably not as many obvious candidates as people think as well. And obviously it's no different than recruiting. You're trying to get the 5-star guy, but you're also trying to reduce risk as well. So all those things factor in. And on that note, that would also probably help if it's somebody that you have a relationship with already too, because you're not trying to figure that out. Are they a cultural fit too? So it's a smaller pool than I think probably people would think.
James, you and Bo are different styles of quarterback. You kind of touched on that. When it comes to game planning, when would you practically need to know about availability to be able to do the game plan that you need to go? Is that something that could go right up until pregame?
Yeah, I think your point is a fair one. That if we were game planning for Drew to be the primary quarterback, it would be a little bit different if we were preparing for Bo to be the primary quarterback. We would emphasize different things. But that's why it's good that when you guys asked me before, I said that really, our model and plan doesn't need to change based on the information that we have right now.
James, playing off Ben's question a little bit, I know you said it's like having a second full-time job, but how is that process coming along in the search for an offensive coordinator? And do you feel like you've taken advantage of maybe the head start you've had over some of the programs that'll make that change?
Yeah, again, I think to your point, I don't know how much of a head start it is, because my energy needs to be focused on beating Michigan State. So if I look tired during the season, late in the season, I may look a little bit more tired now, because essentially from 6 a.m. when I say we have a staff meeting at 7 a.m., I usually get here at least an hour before the staff meeting. So from 6 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night is all on our opponent, Michigan State. So if I'm going to do any of those other things, it's going to happen before that or after that. And there's only so many hours in the day. I got to come out here with the right energy for practice, late in the season, helping the staff, with the game plan where I can help there. Do all the other administrative duties that we're trying to do as well, whether it's NIL or facilities or those types of things. There's just only so many hours in the day, recruiting. So I guess to answer your question, it's not like we're getting that much of a head start, because my focus is on Michigan State.
James, Kobe King's played a large.
But there's a little bit.
He's had more on his plate, it seems like, in terms of workload on defense, sticking around from the third downs. He talked about that with us today, something he's proud of. What has he done to keep himself on the field more as the season has gone on? And how do you think he's really been able to seize this advantage as a first-year starter?
Yeah, I just think, he's done a really good job in year one as a starter, getting better every single week, playing with more confidence, taking control of the defense, not only physically but verbally, being the quarterback of the defense, playing a physical brand of football, and to your point, being able to take on a little bit more reps. So I think he's put himself in really good position to finish this year strong, and then also be one of those guys that, we're focusing on for next year. And I think a lot of people will be focusing on as an exciting prospect at the middle linebacker position in the Big Ten, nationally, and then down the road as well.
In the past, we've seen a rotation at safety with a couple guys going through, but this year it looks like KJ and Jalen have really solidified themselves as the top two. What have they done to put themselves in that position, and how do they complement each other with their skill sets as well?
Yeah, just like we've talked about in the past, consistency. Those two guys have been very consistent. Jalen Reed is extremely intelligent. That's his superpower. His football IQ is really good, and he plays that way. And I think you're going to continue to see him make more and more plays. But he's had a really nice year. KJ, I think, has had a really good year as well. Has been very productive. But those two guys, I think, just are playing together really well and on a consistent basis. That's really what it comes down to. We got a lot of confidence in Keaton Ellis as well. We got a lot of confidence in Zachy. Zachy, as you guys have seen flashes of, has a ton of potential. And for him, it's just doing it on a little bit more of a consistent basis. But we're fortunate to have those four guys in that room playing the way they're playing.
We saw more of Amari Evans on Saturday, snap count-wise, with the offense than we have all year. Are you happy with what he put on film Saturday, and do you feel like maybe he's kind of trending in the right direction or turned a corner?
Yeah, I think, for us, what we tried to do, this past week, which is something that we spent a lot of time talking about, is let's focus on the things that guys can do rather than the things that they can't do. And let's put them in position, allow them to have success, and then build on that and allow that success in some areas, build confidence in other areas. So that's where I think you saw more guys involved in the game plan, and something that I was pretty adamant about. Hey, okay, what are the things that these guys do well? Let's put them in position to use those traits and use those skills, and we'll continue to do that. I think that's a really important piece, being an offensive coordinator or being a position coach, fighting for your guy and say, hey, these are the things I think they can do well and help the team and have a role that we can build on. Thank you.
A bit of an adjusted schedule here this week, and that's head coach James Franklin addressing the media here on this Tuesday. As we welcome you into the Unrivaled weekly preview show, the final game, you see our matchup of the 2023 regular season. Penn State at 9-2, 6-2 in the Big Ten, taking on Michigan State, 4-7, 2-6 in conference play. The all-time series knotted 18-18 and 1, 7:30 NBC Black Friday. Can't wait for this matchup. Brian Tripp, great to be with you here for the Unrivaled weekly preview show. Thanks for carving some time out of your busy holiday schedule to be with us here tonight and learn more about this matchup between Penn State and Michigan State as the Nittany Lions conclude their regular season at Ford Field. Former Nittany Lion linebacker Jason Cabinda will join me in just a couple of moments, as he does every single week here on the show. Penn State coming off that 27-6 win against Rutgers on Saturday at Beaver Stadium to wrap up the home schedule. 108,409 fans averaged this year at Beaver Stadium. The attendance, the atmosphere, it was electric all season long. Now, Penn State goes on the road, neutral site game. You have the Lions and the Packers playing on Thursday in Detroit, and then the Lions and the Spartans playing on Friday in Detroit to wrap up this Big Ten slate heading into bowl season. It's hard to believe we're just a couple of days away from finding out Penn State's bowl destination as well. But what was particularly impressive in that win over Rutgers, not only the three takeaways by that Penn State defense, the defense continuing to make plays in the backfield, the sacks, tackles for loss, but the Penn State running game, 234 total yards on the ground, and quarterback Bo Pribula with 8 carries for 71 yards and a touchdown. I had an opportunity to chat with Bo Pribula after practice yesterday. Bo, obviously you need to be ready whenever your number is called. How do you stay prepared in case that situation occurs as it did on Saturday?
The coaching staff always does a great job preparing me for when my opportunity comes. And the saying goes, always prepare as if you're the starter. So I'm always ready to go.
Throughout the course of the season, you've obviously had plenty of opportunities. How have those game reps, especially in significant, important moments, really prepared you, no matter what that moment may be where you're thrown into the game?
Coach Franklin did a great job all season long, getting me into games when there was meaningful opportunities to do so. And having those opportunities helped a lot on Saturday. It just felt like a normal, having game reps under my belt made me a lot more comfortable on Saturday.
Well, I know leading into this season, we've always talked about what an opportunity this is, a dream come true to play at Penn State. Now that you've found the end zone inside Beaver Stadium, you're seeing that dream come true. How would you describe what this has been like?
Oh, the first time scoring against West Virginia, it was an unbelievable feeling. I was just so proud, to make, everybody back home proud, my family proud. That was the best part, just seeing everybody's, smiling faces after the game and making them proud.
For someone who hasn't had a chance to play inside Beaver Stadium, what is that moment like? How do you even describe? Can you put it into words?
It's tough to put into words. There's really, everybody says it all the time. It's pretty cliche. Like, there's nothing like Beaver Stadium, but there really isn't anything like it. A whiteout or just a normal noon game, it doesn't matter. The Beaver Stadium always brings the energy, and it's honestly an honor to play there.
What's special about the relationship that you and the other quarterbacks in your room have?
I think just, we always have each other's backs, no matter what the circumstances. Whoever's on the field, whoever comes off the field, we're there, giving each other tips. What we saw from the sideline, we always have each other's back.
How do you feel like you and Drew have made each other better?
I think just, going at it every day, whether it's camp or, spring ball, we're always going against each other. It's a fun camaraderie in the quarterback room, and we always push each other to the best.
When you hear the comparisons because of that number 9, Trace McSorley, what's your reaction?
I just think it's pretty funny because I grew up, just being, a huge fan of him. Obviously, he's a really successful quarterback here. Feels like he won every game he played in. Just the moxie he had and everything, being compared to him is way over my head. It's an honor.
What's your favorite memory of watching him play as a Penn State fan?
It's got to be Big Ten Championship 2016. He was on fire. Shout out to Trace.
You met him this year?
I did meet him, yep.
What was that moment like?
I was pretty surreal. Just seeing, somebody I looked up to when I was in middle school, finally getting to meet him was pretty cool.
The Wizard, right?
The Wizard, yeah.
Bo, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And let's take a look at our game week schedule. Our thanks again to Bo Perbula for his time yesterday. The Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show. Let us know where you're watching from tonight. And the Penn State Coaches Show taking place simultaneously on this Tuesday. Thanksgiving on Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours out there. Thanks for being with us here tonight. Game on Friday, 6 o'clock. The Wise Markets Tailgate Show on the radio, 7:30 kickoff. And we'll be with you after the game for the Unrivaled Post-Game Show. One last fact from that Rutgers game that I didn't even mention yet. It's hard to believe. The last 5 times Rutgers has played here at Beaver Stadium, they have not scored a touchdown. 5 straight games at Beaver Stadium, Rutgers has not scored a touchdown against Penn State. It's hard to believe, too. The one thing we haven't mentioned yet, this is the battle for the Land Grant Trophy on Friday. Penn State a chance to win that trophy again against Michigan State as they did last year here at Beaver Stadium. Penn State, in fact, has won 3 of the last 4 meetings. Well, our schedule obviously changing this week with the Tuesday show. That means the Lions are hard at work preparing for the Packers as well in their game on Thursday. Jason Cabinda unable to join us live tonight, but I did have a chance to talk to Jason yesterday. And once again, fantastic breakdown of this week's matchup against Michigan State. Great to be joined by former Nittany Lion, Detroit Lion, Jason Cabinda. Jason, you're talking about ironic. The game Friday at Ford Field in Detroit. What do we need to know about our trip into Detroit this week?
What are the odds, man? Great stadium. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of traveling fans at our game, man, at Ford Field. It's a good field. Turf indoors. Luckily, I don't have to be outside in that cold. I think Detroit with an outdoor stadium would make it quite the tough environment. So that's good on that end, at least.
No doubt about that, and certainly looking forward to ending the regular season on a high note. I know last week during the show, what we talked about was Penn State bouncing back and going 1-0 and making the most of its opportunity against Rutgers at Beaver Stadium on Senior Day, and a 27-6 victory with the running game accounting for 234 yards in the game. It was that physical presence along the offensive and defensive lines that really set the tone, I thought, against the Scarlet Knights.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. They ran the ball really well, which we knew was going to be a key in this game. K-Tron's still in there running it well. Nick Singleton broke off some too, which was really good to see. Kind of the both of them, that thunder and lightning dynamic that they got going on was good. And I thought the offense really played off that well, and I just thought the team responded to a bunch of things in general. There was change going on in the play calling. Obviously, Drew goes down, so I think there was a lot of adversity in that game, and that kind of showed the maturity of our team that we can handle those kinds of things and still keep it rolling now. Obviously, I wish they had a faster start, but I feel like at the end of the day, they really took care of business. So that was good to see.
Yeah, you mentioned Drew going down, and Coach said on Monday that he is expected or hopeful that he will play this week. But it wasn't just, I thought, Drew's passing ability. It was you saw him involved in the running game. Then obviously everyone knows what Bo can do. You and I were joking before we started recording this here about, it's an easy comparison the way he does move, but the Trace McSorley comparison and those running quarterbacks, it gives, as a defender, you can talk about, it just makes it so much tougher for the defense because there's somebody else to account for in that running game. And Penn State executed that element really, really well on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that element you have with Bo is the way he can extend plays and kind of freestyle and improvise and kind of just go out there and play kind of backyard football. And not when Bo comes in there, kind of gives that offense, other things that defenses got to think about, obviously dealing with a running quarterback and things of that nature. Don't make it easy for a defense because there's just things that can happen that you don't account for. And I also thought that Bo did a really good job. Obviously, you saw him fumble the snap and still was able to have the poise to get the ball, the concentration, get in the end zone on that play, things of that nature, which I think also showed maturity. And I honestly feel like every time he goes in there, he always looks like he's ready for the opportunity. So it's cool to see him really shine in that game, and hopefully we'll see him incorporated in the offense even more here and there.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And the last thing on the offensive side of the football, I know the tight ends in the passing game, and look, that was a run-heavy attack for Penn State on Saturday, but the tight ends really have become a story all year long because of their ability to score touchdowns. But I thought the blocking from Theo Johnson and Tyler Warren, you talk about what can make people, what can make players, NFL tight ends, these guys really are the complete package. And I know we've talked a ton about them, but probably something that should not go unmentioned once again, what they're doing in all aspects on the football field.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most impressive things about the two of them is the fact that they are more complete tight ends. I think now, especially the way our game is moving, we're starting to see a lot of tight ends really just being used as extra receivers and really making a killing on that role. But to be able to have that traditional role and be able to do both and really help in the run game, and an offensive coordinator feeling like he can call whatever, whether it's run or pass, and he's got 2 guys, 12 personnel that he can go in there and feel really good about, going there and handling whoever it is on that edge and things of that nature. I think they're a special group, and I think they really help this offense go, especially in the clutch.
Let's shift to the defensive side of the football. Chop Robinson, I mean, what is there to say about him? You've seen so many talented defensive ends throughout your time, whether a teammate or going against them. What makes him so good? Because we're watching, I think, one of the great seasons that a college football player can have right now here at Penn State.
Yeah, I think for me, when I watch his game most, I think what jumps off the tape is his confidence. Dude goes in there, he's flying 1,000 miles per hour at all times. His technique looks great. He's good with his hands, get off. He's got great bend. I mean, you saw him bend that corner and sack. What was that for that fumble there? I mean, those are the kinds of special plays you can have when you have an explosive pass rusher like that. And nowadays they come in all forms and sizes. Some used to be stand-up linebackers, some are edge guys. He's an edge guy, and he does a really good job, kind of that Von Miller-esque type of body type over at linebacker. So, I mean, we've seen Penn State, you see guys like Micah, and we're really developing those type of players. So I would definitely see him being the next one coming up.
I think what's impressive about that defense, too, and you talk about who's going to step up and make a big play or a winning play to help tilt a football game. What I saw on Saturday was, whether it was the fumble for Deni Dennis Sutton in the first half, but Chop Robinson, that play was a real game changer. KJ Winston coming up from the second. This is a defense, they have that attack first mentality all the time, but they're finding a way to make game changing plays time and time again.
Yeah, and that's really important, especially in that type of game where at times the offense was stagnant. We weren't getting points like that. So to be able to have the defense possession after possession step up for you and get that ball back for your offense, I think that's a real booster for the offense's confidence, knowing that, all right, look, even though our defense is going out there, we know we're going to get them the ball back. We know we're going to go out there and be able to have another opportunity to go and score and do our thing. So I think that aspect of them being able to play complementary football between defense, offense, and special teams is what can take this team as far as it can go.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And one last opportunity on Friday, short week going into Michigan State. Michigan State, I think everyone knows, has dealt with a whole lot of adversity throughout the year. Noise, distractions, change, everything going on with that program. Penn State just has to go out and take care of business on Friday night.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, as I've always remembered Michigan State, they've always been a real tough program, built on the right things, blue-collar work ethic, those types of players. So I imagine that's exactly how the program still is. But I think just with everything they've got going on, and even from a talent perspective and where we're at as a team compared to them, I definitely look at this game as one we should come in and handle. Obviously, it's neutral sites, which somewhat neutral, I should say. So it might be a little bit weird, a little bit different, but I think they got to go in there and not let the environment or anything extra going on to affect this game. The fact that they're playing on Friday, not on Saturday, all those external factors that are out of their control. You just got to lock in and take care of business this game.
Big weekend of football, big week of football, Thanksgiving Day, Packers at Lions, then hopefully a couple of wins for the Lions, I guess, in Ford Field this week.
No doubt. We got to keep it rolling, man. 1-0, baby. 1-0.
Jason, really appreciate it. We'll catch up with you going into the bowl season.
No doubt. I appreciate y'all.
All right, great stuff from Jason as always here on the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show. Penn State, Michigan State, 7:30 kickoff from Ford Field on Friday night. Let's dive into our players to watch for this week's matchup. And Penn State on the ground, Katron Allen having an excellent sophomore season, 714 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. Man, he is so hard to bring down. You see that physicality, the power, everything that he can do, his vision, and then that burst getting into the second level, coming off an outstanding game against Rutgers. You saw his touchdowns moments ago, 16 carries, 69 yards, and a couple of touchdowns. And obviously here against Michigan, I just think the blocking along the offensive line, I know we talked about it with Jason, the tight ends. Everyone's been so good in opening up holes for that Penn State running game. Allen, Nicholas Singleton, Bo Perbula, Drew Aller, really having a great stretch right here on the ground for Penn State. Number 2, we mix it up. Offense and defense playing that complementary football. Penn State's turnover margin. You don't want to give Michigan State any free opportunities. They've been so good at forcing turnovers, leading the FBS in turnover margin at plus 18. Penn State has forced 24 turnovers this year, 13 fumble recoveries, 11 picks. You can see the great work they've done here. That's against Maryland. Jordan Vandenberg hopping on the football. Great break on this pick by Jalen Reed. Jalen Reed and KJ Winston have been exceptional as really the primary safeties for Penn State. They've been physical at the line of scrimmage. What a great year it's been for that Penn State defense. But then the offense also doing its part, not turning the ball over, even though we're looking at the defensive highlights here. So turnover margin, very much a critical part of this game. You do not want to give Michigan State any free opportunities and take advantage of turnovers from the Spartans. And finally, we wrap it up on the defensive side. Kobe and Kalen King, a couple of guys from Detroit, from Cass Tech. What a great combination. What a great family they are. They'll get an opportunity to play at home. Kalen, 28 tackles this year. He really hasn't been thrown at very often, and I think Kobe continues to get better and better each and every week at that middle linebacker position. You can see both of them, the ability to make plays, not only obviously Kalen's exceptional coverage skills, but his ability to tackle guys in open space, and that's what Kalen and Kobe King have been doing all season long. Here's a great play from Kalen coming up at the line of scrimmage against Michigan earlier this year. And it's not just Kalen and Kobe from Detroit. It is also safety Jalen Reed, 41 tackles this season, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 interception. Just spoke about him moments ago with KJ Winston in that safety room. Keaton Ellis, that whole group, Zakee Wheatley, have done a great job at Reed having an exceptional season for Penn State. I think you can see his anticipation, his break on the ball, what he's doing in coverage, what he's doing at the line of scrimmage. And you talk about creating big plays and turnovers. It's something he's done all season long for the Nittany Lions, like that great pick there against Indiana. So those are players to watch for Penn State. How about Michigan State? Running back Nate Carter, 178 carries, 753 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Foster Jr.'s their top wideout, 41 catches, 541 yards, and 3 touchdowns. You know, they've played a bunch of different guys at the quarterback position. You're wondering what you're going to see. But then the experience is on the defensive side of the football. And I think linebacker, the strength of this Michigan State team. Kyle Halladay, it feels like he's been around for a long time. A team high 81 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, a pick, and 2 fumble recoveries this year for Michigan State. Outside of football, a ton of other things going on this week in Penn State athletics. Women's volleyball wraps up its regular season. A couple of wins, and they may be hosting postseason at Rec Hall again this season. Women's hockey at Dartmouth. Men's hockey home against Lindenwood. A break from what's been just a challenging Big Ten stretch. What a win by Guy Godowski's squad, the 200th in program history. Last Saturday at Michigan on the road at Yost. Men's basketball, women's basketball, both in their midseason tournaments, and women's soccer in the NCAA tournament, Elite 8 Saturday at 1 p.m. at Clemson. I had a chance to talk with head coach Erica Dombach after their big overtime win against St. Louis 4-3 on Sunday at Jeffrey Field to punch their ticket back to the Elite 8. Erica, your team hasn't played in many matches quite like this season. The ability to come back and win it in overtime, what does it say about their resiliency?
Yeah, what do they call those? An instant classic, right? Up by 2, coming out of halftime, obviously. Huge credit to St. Louis. They came back, they battled even, went up a goal, and it was gut check for our team. And so impressive the way they battled, they fought, and their belief. That's probably the most important thing. I think this team believes they can score at any given time, and I think they show it today. So proud of this group.
Was it your message? What was the messages coming from the leaders on the team as they found a way to dig deep with that belief?
It is just something we train over and over, though, that moment of being a goal down and knowing what the plan was, and they did a good job executing that plan. I think a goal down, I think goal up, we could have done a better job, to be honest, but those are lessons, thankfully, we'll take with us another week and grow one.
What does it mean for the program to be going back to the quarterfinals?
Yeah, this obviously there's such a rich tradition with this program, and it's gotten harder and harder. A lot of Sweet 16s as of late, but this step has dodged us a little bit, so it feels incredible going back. And just want to thank the alums for the foundation that they placed to help us get to this spot.
Coach, congratulations.
Thank you.
So women's soccer off to the Elite Eight at Clemson coming up on Saturday at 1. For those Penn State sports teams competing in Big Ten play this action, Penn State at Maryland women's volleyball. That's a 7 o'clock start tomorrow on Wednesday. Penn State, Maryland women's volleyball. 7 o'clock men's ice hockey. Again, non-conference, 19th ranked Penn State taking on Lindenwood. Both those games Friday and Saturday at 4. Penn State women's volleyball back in action Friday at Ohio State at 7 p.m. You can catch all that action on Big Ten Plus. And let's take one last look at our game week schedule as Penn State gets set to take on Michigan State inside Ford Field. The Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show here tonight. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Again, drop in that comment section where you're watching from. The Penn State Coaches Show simultaneous tonight. Thanksgiving Thursday, the game Friday, 6 o'clock, the Wise Markets Tailgate Show, 7:30 kickoff. We're with you after the game with our Unrivaled post-game show.
So that wraps up this week's episode of the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show. I want to give a big thanks to Ross Woomer and Alyssa Wagner for their hard work behind the scenes all season long. Also, all of our friends from Penn State Strategic Communications, Chris Peterson, Greg Kincaid, Paul Marbo, and Matt Rudisil for helping coordinate our interviews each and every week here on the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show. We'll have plenty of content coming up, obviously, after the game, the Unrivaled post-game show from Michigan State, but plenty of content as we head into National Signing Day and bowl season as well. We appreciate everyone for tuning in each and every week, sometimes maybe a Tuesday, but also on those Wednesdays for the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show. And now, for one last time here for the 2023 season, I'm Brian Tripp saying so long from Beaver Stadium. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you after the game on Friday from Ford Field.